Welcome to Danny Houlihan's Irish Experience podcast. Join Danny on a journey through the historical island of Ireland, its people and the wild Atlantic Way, which is Ireland's last frontier. Experience the music and the culture that makes up the longest coastal driving route in the world. Now, please welcome your host, Danny Houlihan.
Couldn't fault a good Leon Atlantic Ian. Welcome to the Wild Atlantic Way and Danny Houlihan's Irish Experience Show. Our studio Balla Houlihans, Winawn the Shunana County Clare, from the banks of the mighty Shannon River in County Clare Ireland. So if you're walking, jogging, cycling, or even hang gliding, which is a dangerous sport, please take care. Before we start, I have to apologise for the long delay in putting this one out, due to an injury I sustained, which had me out for well over 8 to 10 weeks. I'm up and running again, so let's get going. Once again I travelled out to another special place on the Wild Atlantic Way to look and experience the area and its history. In this episode, I visited Carrigaholt Castle in County Clare Ireland, which is one of the most preserved in the country and is well worth a walk around when you stay on the Wild Atlantic Way in County Clare, and indeed if you're passing through from County Kerry. In my journeys, I have always experienced a rich sense of past lifeways which were once here in these special places. In my series, I've always highlighted the human side to the places and our contribution to same. Crossing the calm Shannon estuary, one can just imagine the trading routes from County Kerry to County Clare in the times of the old clans of North Kerry, with the old O'Connors and the O'Briens and McMahons on the Clare side. How many women and children never made the crossing due to bad weather and were lost sadly on the mighty Shannon estuary. This deserves another day's visit indeed. My quest this time, a visit to Carrigaholt Castle, which in the distance from my home place I can see from North Kerry, and walk around its bawn and soak up its unique atmosphere and its rich history. Again, it's just but a taste, so sit back and enjoy. The McMahon clan, who are the last Gaelic chieftains of the Carrigaholt Peninsula, now known today as the Loophead Peninsula, constructed a castle in the year of 1480, which was strategically located overlooking the mighty Shannon estuary. This guarded the harbour and was strategic in all defences in the Gaelic kingdom of Thomond. The castle of Carrigaholt spans a history of a turbulent time, both religious and political, of two families, the McMahons and the O'Briens of the 16th and 17th century. The McMahons and O'Briens drew their long and noble lineage from the Dáil Goth tribe. The McMahons are descended from Murtagh Mór O'Brien, descendant of the famous High King of Ireland, Brian Boru, ancient High King of Ireland. On this point, from the Kerry side, Bédan O'Congur or Connor from Dún Point Osriach na Fáile on the Ballybunnan side fell in the battle on Good Friday, April 10th, 1014, on the grassy banks of the Tolka River, the great battle of Clontarf. Slain on that fateful day were many Irish chiefs and chieftains, including the High King Brian Boru, so there was many connections across the estuary, from Kerry to Clare and from Clare to Kerry. The architecture of Carrigaholt Castle is unique. The castle is 5 stories high and is surrounded by a bawn or wall courtyard. It is still very impressive, constructed of stone, which was quarried locally, limestone in fact, which is used over its windows and doors, and is a fine example of a tower house of the period. When I visited the castle, the door, which is located on the eastern side, which faces the Ballybunnan direction in North Kerry, is of a pointed arch style. Just near this is a large murder hole, which is sighted, a drawback to its bloody past. For visitors, please note the entrance is now closed up and access is not permitted. It's a pity, as the views from the upper floors will be an added advantage to any visit on the Wild Atlantic Way. The ground floor has many vaulted chambers, and it has been suggested by historians some of these were used for storage of wine, which indeed the ships on the estuary would have been there, and also the castle has a bartizan and a spiral stairs and a stone vaulted roof. The architecture on the fourth floor is that of an ornate fireplace, it should be noted, with the initials of D. O'Brien 1603 inscribed on it. Looking at the castle from the north side, or the northwest direction, there is another structure, used for the defence of Carrigaholt Castle, called a bartizan, which is still in position. In the corner of the castle yard, facing the east, is a round turret, again used for defensive purposes and lookout over the estuary. Again, when you visit this area, it's lovely to get into these places and experience the view from the actual structure itself, looking across at the estuary. According to historians, this was dated to the 18th and 19th century. One aspect I noted, that there was a quite amount of moss and grass growing on the castle and around this structure. This should be removed, because if the grass grows through this, it will undermine the integrity of the castle and loosen the stone. This needs to be attended to, because the castle is in fabulous condition. To get a sense and scale of Carrigaholt Castle, I have consulted a map from the period circa 1900s. It highlights the size of the castle and its environs to the east, facing Kerry. One can see the new quay marked on the map, with mooring points near the bawn of the castle, and other buildings, which were constructed to the west of the castle for use by the garrison. The high pillars at the west side of the entrance are shown and highlighted. Indeed, Carrigaholt Castle was a well-fortified structure. Also noted on the map are several caves and Tubber Sennen, or St. Sennen's Well. Thus, a water source was in the area for the castle to use. It should be noted that the area would have been wooded at one time, so the castle would have been shrouded in woodland, but indeed it would have stood out on the landscape as a striking architectural structure. South of the castle, from the map we can also see Carrigaholt Cottage, a large structure with outbuildings, so there was plenty of room to hold garrisons and staff. Indeed, a very special place, and it was well planned out. Walking around the famous ruins of Carrigaholt Castle, one can be drawn back to the old days of Lord Clare's dragoons. And a visit to Carrigaholt Castle without mentioning Lord Clare's dragoons would be a mistake. Lord Clare's dragoons was a mounted regiment of soldiers, which was raised at the end of the 1680s by the 3rd Viscount Lord Clare of Carrigaholt, Daniel O'Brien. 2 other regiments were also raised under his sons to support the deposed King James II of England in his attempt to retake the English throne. Thus, this shows everybody how important that area of Carrigaholt and its area was at that time. A brief background to this turbulent period was that in the year of 1690, French King Louis XIV put into position to help King James military aid and army in Ireland, 6,000 troops, in return for 5,000 fighting Irish. In history, we are related that this large-scale regiment of foot soldiers, around 1,000, were the first large migration known from the Shannon region. Their names are long forgotten now along the grassy banks of the Shannon River, but their success will never be forgotten in European history eyes. So our Irish diaspora are out there as well. Maybe some of you might be their ancestors listening into this podcast series this morning. Numbers of over 2,000 men, women and children left these shores when the war had finished. After the Treaty of Limerick, on ships from the surrounding countryside. They were sad thoughts, as they would never return again to this place. The period was known, after the Treaty of Limerick, called the Flight of the Wild Geese. And indeed, everybody, there are books and videos, etc., and YouTube programs on about all of this, so it's well worth checking this out. This is just but a taste. Today, the past is not forgotten in County Clare and on the Shannon Estuary, where the saffron colour can still be seen on the Clare GA uniforms. The county is called the Banner County, which according to historians is attributed to the many banners they won in battle long, long time ago. It is said from time to time there are ghostly sights of soldiers from Lord Clare's dragoons can be seen drilling in the area around the castle, and then slowly marching out into the tide, disappearing into the mists of a Shannon Estuary. Indeed, a wild Atlantic Way story. There are many stories told about and related about Carrigaholt Castle. I'll just deal with just a couple here, due to time constraints. There was one story that was related to me by the late Matty Leahy of Doon and Bremore many years ago. It was that of Taig Ceach McMahon, who used to lure the ships to his area and then board the ship and take control of the ship and bring in the crew to the castle. The story was that once he had interrogated the crew, he proceeded to the ship and take whatever loot he could from the ship and then scuttle the ships in the Shannon, leaving his deed committed to history. Again, just another little piece of history of the area. Historians also have related that Taig had a sow and litter of piglets made of gold. And again related, folklore intermixed with a bit of history, buried them in the strand when the tide was out. Where are the gold pigs now? We don't know. Funny enough, across the estuary on our side of North Kerry, there is a similar story of 4 gold pigs were found near the castle, and they were stolen, they said. Were they the stolen gold pigs from Carrigaholt? We shall never know. One last story related about Carrigaholt Castle, and it was related to me that the castle was haunted and that the locals brought an exorcist there. There he climbed into one of the vaulted rooms of Carrigaholt Castle, and the locals ran for it. He stayed there during the night. However, on the following morning, one of the locals who returned to find this man found him dead, with his hands stretched out in one of the chambers. What happened that night, we shall never know. Carrigaholt holds its history. I hope you've enjoyed now this small little blast of bio. It's a short blast podcast. These are the short podcasts I'm doing on County Clare. The longer ones are there and they're coming on stream again. This is just the short ones. Now I must take my flight from Carrigaholt now. And may I say, it is well worth a visit on the Wild Atlantic Way route. So again, if you're visiting County Clare from either side, from Kerry to the Clare side, or from Clare to County Kerry, we have a rich history and culture which is united. Some of the time we don't think this, but it's there. So there's a place to park your car there. You can indeed have a picnic, and Carrigaholt is a lovely place, and you can stop off there, and there is a lovely community there. So it's well worth popping in there to Carrigaholt. So as I said, if you are in the area of Carrigaholt there's ample to do and eat, and the food is absolutely fantastic in County Clare. So for myself, from the Ballab Winnow studio, Winnow na Shunana Kunde Kiri, I say slán, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to our show. Through its people, its heritage and its rugged coastline, this is truly Danny Houlihan's Irish experience. Bye for now.